Well, good afternoon, everybody. This is Terry Luker, and I'm here with another episode of Deal Talk. And we're really excited about today's episode because we have the one and only Scottie D with us. Scottie is our executive director for the Commercial Loan Broker Association. I doubt if you're a successful commercial loan broker that you don't know who he is. Okay, he's that famous or infamous or however you want to look at it, Scottie. But I think most commercial loan brokers all know who Scottie DiBerardinis is, and affectionately known to all of us as Scottie D. And Scottie, welcome in this afternoon. We're excited to have you with us.
Well, thanks, Terry. Thanks for having me on. I've been looking forward to doing a deal talk. I know you guys do this often, and I was just waiting for my turn, and here it is. I'm excited to be on here talking about the CLBA and what we have going on with the conference, the association, and all of our brokers.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time to be on here, and let's jump right in. Let's talk about it. When we talk about the Commercial Loan Brokers Association, everybody knows about the convention, that's coming up again this year, October 27th, 28th, and 29th in Orlando at the Renaissance SeaWorld Hotel. But there's so much more. So let's talk about, what your thoughts are about this year's convention. But let's get into some of the other things that the Commercial Loan Brokers Association does.
Well, I get that's awesome, man. I'm looking forward to having that conversation. I first want to say, that our commitment to loan brokers is unmatched. We've got so many cool things going on with the association, with the conference, that nobody else in the marketplace can touch what we're doing. And just today, I had a conversation with some other folks that attended some other events in the industry, and they're like, nobody does it as well as you guys do it. And that's really great to hear, because we strive on being the best of what we do and bringing the most to our commercial loan brokers, as well as our sponsors and lenders who are part of our association and part of the conference too. There's so many great things going on in the industry these days. And I think, Terry, you and I have talked about it also, that, this is going to be a $3 trillion industry in 3 or 4 years. We don't have the loan brokers to do that. No. That's why we're here, man. We want to raise this industry to a higher standard. And it all starts with the association and the conference and the exciting things we have going on this year.
Yeah, I'll never forget my first year in the business. If I hadn't had the community that we had back then, if I hadn't been able to pick up the phone and call you or call John or, call Alex or somebody, that was part of that group back then, it wasn't an association, it was an alliance, but I would have been lost. And so I think that's what's so important to me is one of the founders of this group, is that we build that community, where we have commercial loan brokers that are available. I talk to a lot of bankers. We have a lot of banks that we do have lending relationships with, and I talk to them. They're not afraid of commercial loan brokers when they know they're trained. Right. When they know what they're doing, they like working with them because they bring them good deals, and they bring them deals that are clean and they've been vetted and things like that. It's the loan brokers who just hang a shingle out and they're not part of a community. They don't get any educational background, that just want to sling deals to banks. They'll look at 1 or 2, maybe 3, and then after that, they're done with them. So the commercial loan brokers are hurting themselves by not being a part of a community that can help them get better and be more educated in our industry. And I think it's so important to note what you said a while ago. Moody's in December said that we were a $1 trillion industry, and that in 3 years we will be a $3 trillion industry. And you and I know we don't have enough commercial loan brokers to handle that kind of volume. We don't. So there's going to be some folks that are going to get in this industry and make a lot of money. And there's going to be some deals that are just missed, because of not having enough people to work those deals. So I think that's why the CLBA is so important, not just for the convention, but for everything else that we do. Yes, we're going to have world-class breakout sessions. I know you're involved in that. I know that you're working with Jenna and some of the other team members, to make sure that those are, what we want and what we need to educate our brokers. But let's talk about some of the other things that might be going on at the convention, or, talk about your keynote speaker. I saw a real cool video from him today. I was really excited about that. And then let's talk about some of the other things that we do, to help have and form a community of commercial loan brokers.
Yeah. So to touch on the keynote, yeah, we're really excited to have Joe Theismann come out and do the keynote speak. And if anybody's seen Joe speak before, he is a true polished guy. He talks about, that career-ending injury that he had and what he had to do next. And as he says it's perseverance, man. I had to figure out what to do because my whole life was riding on what I was doing at that point.
Right.
So at that point he had to pivot and do a whole bunch of other things. And on top of that, which was becoming a broadcaster, then he turned into an entrepreneur and just grew so many facets of different businesses that he had. It's just an amazing story. And I'm excited to have Joe out there. And I was really excited seeing that the video he did for us to promote it too. So it's going to be cool when everybody else gets to see it.
I want him to tell me about the 1 yard punt. That's what what I want to know about.
I saw that. I'm interested in that also.
Yeah, so that's pretty exciting. So, one of the things that we did last year, and we've had a couple meetings with them so far this year. I wasn't able to attend the last one, but talk a little bit about our leadership council and what you think that means for our community.
Well, it's funny. I was thinking about that too. And collectively, I think with our leadership council, we have over 100+ years of experience working in this industry. From a lender standpoint, from a broker standpoint, these guys have been around the block many times. They've seen everything that they could possibly see from a deal standpoint. And having that type of leadership council being part of the CLBA and sharing their thoughts on how to make our organization better is just truly amazing. I think we as a company are blessed to have the folks that we picked to be part of our organization because they're so good at what they do and they know enough about the industry to be able to help and coach and, get brokers where they need to be to get deals closed.
Yeah, I think that's important. I think, for our community and everyone out there listening to us in this segment, I think it's important that they note that we want our leadership council to provide guidance to our community, to make sure, we said when we started this, we want to be education based, stay on point, be focused. And we've challenged our leadership council to make sure that we do that we don't deviate, or we don't shortcut the fact that we are an education centered, association because we believe it's that important, in all that we're doing. And so really blessed and really thankful that we have all of those folks there and hope to try to get maybe a segment of the convention. And I'm not sure where we could put it in, but to introduce the leadership council so that everybody will see who they are and know who they are and be able to identify them. And maybe we need to do something with the name badge. I know that they have as well, so that everybody can quickly identify that they are, part of our leadership council for our community. So I think that's important. What about, no one really realizes what you do on Tuesdays. Now I know, okay. And your Tuesday is completely full up. And why don't you tell us what you're doing on Tuesdays?
Well, it's funny that, and I was thinking about this also and just touching on, some of the benefits of the association and what we do and how we do it. Terry, we talked about community, but more importantly, we talked about education. And that's really what we're here for. We're here to educate our brokers, to make sure they understand the landscape of the marketplace, what's going on with our prospective lenders in their asset classes when they're out in the marketplace doing lending. So, I host every Tuesday the CLBA webinar series where I'll have 2 lenders on or service providers, in that afternoon talking about exactly their asset class, what they do, what the market looks like. And it's all education based. And I'm okay with our sponsors coming on and billboarding and telling people who they are and what they do.
Right.
But right from there, we go into education. We teach everybody what's going on in the marketplace from every asset class across the table. So these brokers can actually go out the next day and implement what they learned in their business based on that asset class that they're going out to try and find business for and find business owners that'll benefit from it.
Yeah, and I think you sometimes don't give enough credit for what you've built there, because you actually do almost like two webinars that day, because you have a first session with one lender, and then you have, when that lender's finished up, bang, you go right into the second session
Correct.
with the other lender. And I noticed that I'm seeing averages of somewhere between 60 and 70 brokers, on each segment that you're having. So that's really, really good stuff.
Mhm.
And some of our commercial loan brokers are really taking advantage of those opportunities, and I think that's important to learn. All of us can get a refresher course. We've been doing this business. I've been in a commercial loan broker now for 12 years. There are still things that I want a refresher course in. I'll go in and ask Jeff, hey, in SBA, can we still do this?
Right.
Because he keeps on top of everything and all. We just we've got an Airbnb deal that we really like, and I don't deal a lot with the Airbnbs. Jeff does. And so I go in and I ask him, I said, well, where do you think we ought to go with this? He said, oh, it's easy. Here's what we do. And so he laid it out for me, and, we're moving forward on it. But we all need that. And I think that's what this webinar series that you're doing is so vital. And I can't encourage our brokers enough that, man, if they're missing those, they really need to be a part of those, and aren't we putting some of those out on our portal for our members that are members of the CLBA?
Oh, we can. Yeah, we can download a lot of those presentations in the portal and make them available for our CLBA members. And everything's recorded, and it's really great because it's there's two sides to the fence in our industry, Terry.
Right.
We have the commercial loan brokers that are out on the streets. They're our frontline guys, right? They're boots on the street. They're finding those deals, and when they find those deals, the other side of the fence is our lenders. So
Right.
the CLBA webinar series benefits both sides of the fence. It's
Yes.
our brokers that hear something on the webinar that matches a deal that they have sitting on their desk, and guess what? They're calling that lender and talking about that deal and promoting that deal to be able to get it funded. So we work together as a community and an association to work with everybody on both sides of the fence, because at the end of the day, if our brokers are closing deals, our lenders are making money, our brokers are making more money, and everybody's more motivated to go find more deals and get more deals closed and keep the marketplace growing.
Yeah, that's what I try to tell everybody involved in the process, that it has to be win-win.
Mhm.
The lender's got to win, the client's got to win, the broker's got to win, or this doesn't work. And so, we're out there looking for the best deals for our clients, and as brokers, we want to make sure we're working with lenders that help us do that. So really excited about the webinar series that you do, and all that we're doing on education. And we've done something new this year. We've done a couple of workshops so far, right?
Yep. Yeah, we have, which was really exciting, which is something that I've always wanted to do, but never had the opportunity. So, with the vision of you guys and the founders and promoting education, there's a lot of really good stuff we're going to be doing throughout the end of this year, and then each quarter next year. I believe our next workshop is in August, which we'll be promoting very shortly, and that'll be exciting to get out to everybody too. But again, it all goes back to education, learning something that you may have forgotten or you didn't know it was out there, is going to help everybody grow their business.
Yeah, I think the workshop in August is going to be centered around another section of mastering client success, and for our brokers. So really, really excited about that. And of course the upcoming convention. What are some of the things that you might say to a newer broker in our industry, or someone that's thinking about trying to get in our industry? What's some advice that you would give them about the CLBA?
That's a great question. As a new broker, I think probably one of the best things that they could do is, and I'm not saying this because we're talking about the conference, is attend the conference, because you're going to be walking that exhibit hall, going to breakout sessions with like-minded individuals that do exactly what you do. The difference is our broker database that we have that comes to the conference. We have the guys that have been in the industry 12, 15 years,
Right.
and guys and gals that have been in the industry 1, 2, 3, and 4 years. So think about the knowledge just from the brokers you're going to meet that have been in the industry for so long that you can pick their brains and understand what's going on, because if they've been around this long, they've mastered what they're doing and they're good at what they're doing. So as a new broker, that's a great way to have a conversation about, what do I do for my business? How can I take my business to the next level from these old guys that have been around? It's like the old soldier. He's old for a reason. He's been around.
That's right. I think that's one of the things that, and I know our staff gets tired of hearing me say it, but my best mentoring relationship were a guy that really helped me and brought me along in this industry. I met him at the first convention that I attended. And Mike and I knew him from when I went to school, and he presented at the class and all that. And we did a deal together pretty early on in my career. And then when I met him at the conference, it just solidified it. I had dinner
Yeah.
with him, and my wife came along and all. And, it's just been, it was a great relationship. He's now retired. I still talk to him every now and then, but, just a guy that poured into me. And really all he got back from me is the 2 or 3, I think we did 3 or 4 deals that I closed with him. But he would talk to me about SBA deals, and he didn't do SBA deals. He did CMBS lending, but he never, ever told me he couldn't help me when I called him about a deal, whether it was in his field or not. So I think my point is that come to the convention, be open about meeting people, and there are a lot of people in our community that are willing to pour and give back to people, pour into people and give back. I know some of those people on our leadership council are really excited about that, and as far as giving back to our community and pouring into young people. It's something that we love to do. So really excited about the convention. So.
And along the lines of, meeting like-minded people, I think you touched on it earlier, the education piece of what we do in those breakout sessions is so important. And there's so much information, and there's so many things that, new brokers or even brokers that have been in the industry can learn from and take back and implement, the next week when they go back to the office and start making calls again and calling on clients. So there's so many different things. I mean, it's just, you can't count them all. Just the networking events that we have. Walking around and chatting with people and having a cocktail and just learning about what they do and how they do it. What we do is all business, but there's also a social aspect of getting to know people that are in the industry and why they came into the industry, right?
Right.
I always tell people that I'm a finance guy purely by accident.
Yeah.
It was never something I even thought of. It just kind of happened. And here's 20 some odd years later, I'm still doing it, in some sort of capacity of being in the finance industry.
Yeah. And, that's the thing is that you look up and, my career was supposed to be just me and maybe an assistant. And look what we got going on now. I think we have almost 20 employees, and, I'm like, man, what are we doing here? When am I supposed to retire? But I'm loving what I'm doing, and I love the people, that I'm working with. And I think that's important is that, I never will forget when I first started in this business, in this industry, I tried to be all things to everybody. And, going to those conventions, I would finally meet brokers that said, now I just do commercial real estate, or I just do SBA loans, or I just do this. And what I found is, and then Jeff really helped me with this too, is they focused on a certain area of our industry. Those are some of the things that you can learn at the convention. And when you go to some of those breakout sessions and all, in addition to, what's really going on in our market. I think one of the best panels we do there, Scottie, is that state of lending panel that we
love
do.
it. Yep.
Talks about exactly where we're at, as an industry and what's going on and what you can expect. And man, I don't know how someone would be in our field of study or our field of work and not attend the conference because of the education that you can get from it. So really excited about it, for this year. What about new brokers or somebody who wants to break into our industry? What advice would you give them?
Wow, man, I'll tell you, it's that's a great question. I would definitely have them talk to folks that have been in the industry, really understand what you're getting into. And, the commercial loan broker industry is a great industry. And I think I told you this last week, Terry. I'm having more fun doing this than I've ever had in a long time, just because we're doing so many great things to raise the industry up. I would certainly, have that loan broker talk to guys that have been in industry, but more importantly, look at us to help them get educated, because we not only do the association, we also have the Loan Broker Academy.
Right.
We're teaching individuals to own their own business and operate as a commercial loan broker. And we're doing it a lot different than what the marketplace is doing. And there's so many benefits to being able to go through a class. It's going to teach you in specific modules that are going to make you experts in different asset classes. But more importantly, long term, for that 12 months after that, as a loan broker, we're going to help you be successful. We're not going to throw you in the deep end of the pool and say, hey, swim, and call us if you need help, which I think you experienced that when you first came out.
Yeah, I did a lot. And luckily, I learned how to dog paddle, and then I could swim. So, but, you're right. I think what's cool about our academy is we've tried to structure it to where, there's 3 different options. You can attend in person, you can attend, through Zoom while we're doing the in person, or we now have finished and launched. I believe it's launched now. Maybe it's the 1st of July, where you can actually take this course at your pace. So if you're working a full-time job during the day, you can take the course in the evenings, maybe after the kids and the family are settled down and all, and learn at your own pace. And I think that's important. I think that's really good if we're trying to do that. And, I'll never forget that when I got in the industry, we realized there was 3 things we had to do when Ken and I came out of class, and that was find clients, find lenders to fund those clients, and then learn how to package those deals.
Right. Yep.
And when you're coming through our school, we're gonna underwrite the deal, and we have the lender base already for you, and we're gonna package the deal. So all they got to do is go find clients and build relationships. So I'm really excited about that, and I think it's going to take off, and I think it's going to do real well. So we'll see.
Yeah, that's really exciting stuff. And it's just, again, we're doing so many different things in the industry that's changing the face of the industry itself. And people don't realize it because we're really in our infancy stage of what we're doing, right?
Yeah.
We've had these thoughts in our brains as how we want to do this for a long time. Now we can actually act upon that and change the industry to make it better across the board for lenders and brokers alike. And that's what it's all about.
Yeah, it is. It's about lifting the entire industry up and all of us getting better. And I'll never forget, years ago, there was a group that was going to attend the same training school I went to, and they lived in Nashville. And they said, well, could we come to your office? And I said, sure, come on to our office. And we were down in Franklin, about 20-minute drive. And they said, well, we're just a little shocked you'd let us come and meet with you. And I said, why? And they go, well, we're going to be your competitors because we live here in Nashville. And I said, we're $1 trillion industry. You're not my competitors. We can all work together. And I think if we could get some of that mentality, I know Chris Peoples was our rising star last year. And, Chris turned me on to a hotel lender this year, who we're trying to work a deal with now, and so it's just giving information and help back and forth. And I think if we do that as an industry, we're just going to get better, and everybody's going to get better. And,
I was on a call earlier today, and it was one of our loan brokers, just had a deal she wanted to talk through. And she actually mentioned Chris Peebles because she spoke to Chris a bunch of times that has given her some very insightful information to help her business. Which was awesome. So, I mean, that's that our community is doing that. We're talking to each other, we're raising each other up, and, bringing each other up to a level where everybody can be successful because there's just so much business out there.
Yeah. One of the things I love to point out is this is Chris's second year in our business.
Right.
In the first year, Leah could tell you that, in our marketing team, I mentored Chris, for a period of time where we had some direct one-on-one meetings, and I'm not taking credit for his success. Chris is a brilliant businessman who sold a very successful business and then knew this is what he wanted to do. And he's really gone about it and done it. So we're really excited about him and him being a part of our community and the fact that he was our rising star last year. So, all right, final thoughts. We're into this now. We probably need to finish up, but where are you thinking? What are some of your final thoughts you have for us today?
So as far as, the industry in a whole, I think we're moving in a one heck of a great direction. There's going to be so much opportunity, and it's going to, and you can hear people talk about the political environment and everything else that's going on. The bottom line, people, everybody needs money all the time. Yep. Doesn't matter what it is, they still need money. In what we're doing is helping them learn about how to get their clients money. That's the biggest thing. And, the association is growing by leaps and bounds. Last year we had 372 folks come to the conference. This year, we're on track for 500. We're going to have a sold out exhibit hall. We're honoring women in finance this year, which is something I've always wanted to do. And, we're going to do that this year. And I think that's a very important recognition, because this has always been a male dominated industry. And it's great to see how some of these women are so successful at what they do, and they want to take the time and share what they're doing at that luncheon to other successful women. So that I'm super excited about, what we're doing and how we're kind of changing the industry, and the way we're moving as far as growing the industry too. I can't say enough about what the conference is going to do this year. Our keynote speaker, our co-host, there's just so many great things going on. And there's so many great people, because, my main role is driving the sponsorships and driving the memberships. And I know these lenders, and you mentioned it, Terry, there's so many of these guys that just want to give to the market and make people better and help them understand how to close deals. And I think our brokers are realizing that, the ones that came out last year and they met, and, there's so many of our lenders that developed so many relationships and got so many deals done since the conference, the year to date. It's just amazing that, that community continues to grow and will always continue to grow based on, us nurturing it and putting it in the right direction, here as a team, along with our leadership council.
Yeah, I think I've only talked to one group. No, I think there's two that attended the conference last year that didn't get deals out of the conference. And I was amazed at that, that everybody talks to me about, man, we got 3 or 4 deals out of it. We love it. And then I was on the phone, and the guy, this lender's boss was on the phone. And he goes, which deals? And the guy rattled them off. Rattled off the 4 deals that they did. And I was like, man, that's pretty good. So really excited about that. Well, Scottie, I want to thank you for taking the time out of your day. I knew not to try to get you on a Tuesday, because I knew you'd be busy. But I really want to thank you for taking the time out of your day and being a part of DealTalk. And we appreciate all you do in our industry. And we just look forward to working with you for as long as we want to work together. I think there's a lot to be done, but I think we're on the right track of getting it done, and just really excited about our community.
Yeah, thanks, Terry. Thanks for having me. This was exciting. Like I said, I know you did this. I was just waiting for my turn, and I was super excited to come on and chat with you about what we're doing and how we're doing it. And I can't wait for the conference this year, and I can't wait for the workshops that we're going to be doing. And if anybody wants to learn about the CLBA webinar series, it's Scottie D. Contact me directly. Whether it's through LinkedIn or email or cell phone, whatever it is, I'll be happy to connect you with our webinar series and have you guys jump on and listen to what we're doing.
Yeah, and in closing, lastly, I'd be remiss if I didn't point out that our members of the Commercial Loan Brokers Association actually have a portal, and in that portal is so much information, including a lender guide, where if you're looking for lenders to fund your deals, we've got the lender guide out there for the members that are a part of our Commercial Loan Broker Association. So check out how to become a member and check out what's out there, because the videos that you do, Scottie, our DealTalk podcasts are out there. There's so many training opportunities that are out there, on that portal, and you really ought to be able to, you really want to be a part of that. So, and just
to follow up with that, one more thing, I just had a new broker we signed up last week to be a member of the association, and he had access to the portal, and he shot me a quick text message that said, this portal is amazing. There's so many great things on here that I can utilize for our business, from the applications and the forms and the lender guide and everything else. So it's kind of cool to hear that, especially with somebody that just signed up and started messing around with it.
Yeah, Leah and her team did a fantastic job with that for us. So we're very appreciative of that. So, well,
Excellent.
Won't take up any more of your time. Want to thank everybody for being a part of this edition of Deal Talk with Terry Luker and Scottie D. See you soon.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Everybody.
See ya. Bye.